Welcome everyone to my first toy review, where I'm going to do the review of Wave 1 of the SHODO Kamen Rider vs. series. A few years back in Japan, they started releasing these line of candy toys of Kamen Riders, which are very nice budget and G.I. Joe sized figures that come with a little piece of candy. Don't have any on me, but they do taste pretty good for what they are. And in Japan, they have candy toys, which is toys that come with candy, and this is a line of such toys. And since then, they've released many waves to this line. I'm going to be reviewing all the waves up to the current wave. So for starters, we're going to be reviewing this wave. And so, we'll start off with the first figure in Wave 1 of Kamen Rider Ichigo, or Kamen Rider 1, translated in English. Kamen Rider, as you see, it means masked rider. Yeah, I meant to say masked rider. Yeah. So, a brief history. Masked Rider, or Kamen Rider, however you want to pronounce it, is a long-running series that has been premiering in Japan about 25 years or so, give or take, as of this video's recording. And it's been pretty famous. There was a time where it was off the air, but that only lasted throughout the 90s. And now, and ever since the 2000s, it's had an unbroken run up to this day. And now that we've gone through the brief history, let's go through the toys. The first one is Kamen Rider number 1. See, I think he looks pretty good. Yeah, this one in particular comes from the 1970s series, just simply called Kamen Rider, or Masked Rider if you'd want to pronounce it in English. So let's see if I can get him to stand. Okay, there. In which the series is about a man who was captured by an evil organization and turned into a cyborg, but escaped before they could brainwash him, and this was that character from the show. And it's a pretty nice figure. As I mentioned, it's G.I. Joe sized, and it has some pretty nice articulation for being a toy that's made on a lower budget than other toys. Has some nice posability on this thing. Has a ball joint on the shoulder and just a simple hinge here for the shoulder. And the hand here could move like this, but we'll get into how the hand works a bit more later. Its middle is on a ball joint, I think, or some other kind of hinge, I'm not sure. The head is also on a ball joint, and the scarf can move a bit, and the elbows are on a ball joint, the knees another hinge, and the bottom feet are also ball joints. So this is a pretty good toy, pretty good quality. You get a lot of articulation, but the real selling point is the details. As you can see here, the let's see if I can focus on this. Can I? Okay. Well, it ain't coming good on this camera, but the details on it, they try to be very detailed with the fabric, showing that he's wearing something made of fabric. And even these middle parts here looks like it's some kind of leather or plastic. Well, more of the softish fabric-y plastic, but it's clear the harder plastic. Yeah. Even the belt details are pretty spot on. Not everything's picked out in paint, like there's some back details that on the show were green on coming down in both directions, but that's something they omitted. Like, you'll see little omissions here in this line where they choose not to pick some things out in paint, but they at least leave the details there, even if it is unpainted. So that's at least something. Even down here where his jacket, or whatever you want to call it, goes under the belt is there. We're in a more modern toy. You probably wouldn't see that unless it's a girl's skirt that goes down about here, like on Power Rangers toys. But this is a pretty nice detail I think most toy companies wouldn't have bothered with. Even the belt here has all those finer details, but yeah, I think this goes pretty good, and I'll see if I can get him in his iconic pose here. A little higher. There we go. And like, whoop. Like that. And they also come up with extra hands. Yes, this black base here has holes marked left and right where you can put the extra hands on. And as you can see, the hands come off like this, and you remove the hands from there and switch them out, which is pretty good. And I think it works pretty good. You can get different kinds of poses with the different kinds of hands here. And this base also acts as a stand for the toy to make sure he stands pretty well, as I'll demonstrate here. There. So, there's little worry about him falling over with that. And so, that's Kamen Rider 1 in this. And now we're going to look at the second figure in the wave. Kamen Rider, our Masked Rider V3, which is short for version 3. Or third version, however you want to say. But that's more or less what it's short for. And here is Kamen Rider third version. And no, there was no mistake. There is a second version, or Kamen Rider 2, but he came out in the second wave, so we'll cover him in the second video. But for now, this is Kamen Rider V3, who had a very similar backstory to him, except in his family was killed by an evil organization, and he wanted to be modified into another Masked Rider by the original two, and so to save his life after an attack they did, and he became the third version and has been a fan favorite amongst the fan base of Kamen Rider, Masked Rider, however you want to say it. And the articulation is the same, nothing's really hindering him. They have all the details, although they didn't put this stripe around the whole arm. They at least put it on the front. And the hands are just as removable. Here's the base that doubles as the footrest and the storage for the extra hands. And on the belt you see it's, if it can focus. Ah, there it goes. The V and the 3. And he has 2 red fans on it, whereas the other one only had 1 on his belt. Really trying to sell the fact that this is an upgraded version of that one. And you can definitely see it better on this toy on this camera because of his colors. But you can definitely see all the fabric-y details they did. And again, this part here from the jacket that goes under the belt, they chose not to omit that detail, and this looks like some more of that plasticky, fabric-y stuff they would have used for the costume in the show. Yeah, they did a good job, and he has this collar that goes around, and it just has a double scarf on his. Can't really move it all that well. Oh no, I forgot to mention, him and everyone in the line has these holes in the back, because they're these stands you can use them on to get him in cool aerial poses like a jump kick, or the rider kick as it's called. So, this is pretty good. You can see they have all the belt attachments this one has, and has the nice green eyes, the antennas that go... Alright, this more firm than his antennas, and red jewel in the middle they were able to pick out and paint, and the gray bottom part of the mask and the green eyes is just definitely a nice figure, and get him in his iconic pose too, and get him in his stand like that. Okay, so that was Kamen Rider V3. Let's see if I can, yeah, that was Kamen Rider V3. I move the camera. And now, we're halfway through this review. And now I present Kamen Rider X. He is the 5th Kamen. Actually, yes, the 5th Kamen Rider. Again, they omitted the one who comes after him in this wave, but he'll be in the second wave with number 2, which completes the first 5 Kamen Riders. And on his backstory, again, all the 1970s and 80s ones have similar backstories with a few differences here and there. All of them are cyborgs in a way. For X, his backstory is the evil organization GOD, pronounced God, which GOD standing for Government of Darkness, tried to take his father so they could use his scientific skills for their own ends, but ended up killing his father and him. Though before his father succumbed to his injuries, he was able to save his son's life by turning him into Kamen Rider X. As you can see, he's pretty different. With this one, they weren't really going for an upgrade of the other two's design, but rather tried to make him his own thing while still clearly being a Kamen Rider. And it's picked out in gray and red with some black here, gray and red being one of my favorite color combinations. Let's see if we can focus in on his head. Yes, as those bug eyes. And yes, they are based on bugs for the uninitiated. This part tends to come off at times, but I have some modeling glue I can use to keep that on. Yeah, that's more like it. He has this as the antenna and the V on his mask, or helmet, whatever you want to call it, which is the upper half of the X. And as you go down, you can see as the chest armor, which is trying to be a chest armor and the letter X at the same time, but yeah, doesn't pull it off well, but at least it makes for good chest armor. And moving his arm a bit, he has the red strip going down his arm and his leg here. And his belt is similar, has a turbine in the middle with a nice red arrow detail and this handle part, because in the show his weapon is stored in his belt and he pulls it out to use it, which we'll get into in a bit. And again, they tried to make sure all the fabric folds detailing is on this. They really tried to do their best with the detailing, and this is his scarf on the show. It was picked out in red and yellow, and he had some more red details on the back, but yeah, those are the minor things they don't pick out and paint just to keep within budget. And he also comes with some extra hands, and that store in the stand to the toy. And now for the weapon. This is the Rydle stick. On the show, it could become a whip sword-like thing and a rope and the stick form. And I'll get him to hold his stick as best as I can. I'll have him hold it like this. Yeah, this outward hand is more for posing than it is for any action he does. Because they do plenty of posing in these shows. And yeah, I think that's the closest I can get to his pose. To his action pose when he's ready to fight. And let's see if... Oh, let me... Give me a sec to get him in his stand. And there. And focus again, and I'll just put this in his hand before I proceed to the last toy in the review. Come on, there we go. That'll do. Right, so that's whoop, knocking toys over. Yeah, well, you can tell this is my first review. I'd probably have not make so many mistakes if I were better at this. Oh, but there we go. And now for the last toy in the review. His name is Apollo Geist. This is actually a villain character. He's not a masked rider, Kamen Rider like them, the heroes. He's a villain. He's actually one of the villains from Kamen Rider X's show. And here he is. He's often considered one of the cooler characters from the old 1970s series. And he's pretty good. He comes with the extra hands like the rest of them. Not as much as them, but his extra hands are weapon-holding hands. He has this double-barrel gun here and this blade shield which he tossed in the show. Kinda Captain America style, except more deadly. And he has this sun-shaped details and this... let's see if I can focus. And this nice detailed belt here. Again with the fabric details. And he has this nice helmet. As you can guess by the name, he's based off the Greek god Apollo Geist, because many of the bad guys in Kamen Rider X's show during the first half were based on Greek mythology, which is very nice. The cape is a piece of solid plastic. There's hardly any real bend to it, so I wouldn't suggest bending it too far in any way unless you want it to break. He's a pretty nice toy. Yes. Yeah, I like him. It's like, I think his cape hinders his backward leg articulation, but it's okay. It's forgivable since this is a budget toy. It's meant to be sold on candy shelves in Japan, not for serious collectors, though at the same time, these SHODO Versus toys are meant to meet people halfway, because they're a lot better than those budget line Kamen Rider toys you would see other people review, but at the same time they're not SH Figuarts quality. They're somewhere in the middle, so serious collectors don't have to feel like they're breaking the bank, but at the same time sacrifices have to be made in order to make it affordable. But they pulled off that middle line very well. So well that I'm still collecting each new wave that comes out. Yes, typically these have a secret variant for one or more of the toys in a wave, but as far as I know, the first wave didn't have any secret variants. But at the same time, when I got the entirety of the first wave had already come and gone. So I didn't get them fresh from the store. I got them secondhand off eBay. But at least I was able to get on the bandwagon early enough to get them from Wave 1. From wave 2 and on, I got each one on release. I pre-order the entirety of each wave. And I am pleased with these and with all the others I have and am looking forward to reviewing. And that's pretty much it. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and I hope you look forward to more of them. Please like and subscribe, and be sure to comment on how I could improve my videos better, and on the kind of toys you'd like me to review sometimes. But for now, I'm mainly focusing on Kamen Rider stuff, and though I have more than Kamen Rider to review, and I'll review those in time, but for now I'm mostly trying to get through this entire line of toys I have up to where I'm at the video's recording. And I hope you'll join me for next video. I'll see you then!